Imagine this, you're 22, fresh out of college, armed with a degree that seemed like a beacon of promise 4 years ago. Your family is expectant. Your social feed is bursting with success stories. Friends landing dream jobs, launching YouTube channels, publishing novels. You stare at your ceiling at 2 a.m., your heart pounding with that familiar dread. What is my passion, and why can't I find it? This question, whispered through self-help books and screamed across graduation speeches, has become a silent tyrant for a generation. Follow your passion, they said. But what if your passion is fleeting? Or worse, what if you don't have one at all? There's a disturbing irony in how a phrase meant to liberate has become a trap. In promising infinite freedom, it quietly shackles us to the pressure of divine certainty, that one golden thing we were meant to do. The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre famously argued that existence precedes essence. We are not born with a predefined purpose. Yet the cult of passion demands that we discover ours early, clearly, and without doubt. This burden is especially cruel because it implies that anything short of passionate certainty is failure. If you're working a mundane job, if your days feel meh, if your ambition is foggy, you must have done something wrong. You didn't believe enough. You didn't hustle hard enough. You didn't follow your heart. But what if your heart is not a compass, but a conflicted courtroom? As Carl Jung noted, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Much of what we call passion may be a projection, an echo of what culture rewards, fame, creativity, impact, rather than what we truly want. When everyone is chasing passion, passion becomes a commodity, not an inner truth. Consider the lives of those we revere. Not all followed some luminous, predestined love. Many stumbled, doubted, took menial jobs. They evolved. Passion was often a byproduct, not a starting point. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, wrote, "Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. Passion may burn hot, but purpose sustains. And the two are not always the same. So perhaps the question is not what's your passion, but why do you believe you need one so badly? What if the idea that you're meant to do something is not divine insight, but an illusion constructed to tame the chaos of existence? The myth of preordained purpose runs deep. It's comforting, after all. In a world so unpredictably brutal, the notion that everyone has a destined path offers a sense of order. A map. But as Friedrich Nietzsche warned, convictions are more dangerous enemies of truth than lies. And the conviction that you must discover your one true calling can become a form of intellectual imprisonment. This belief system subtly implies that purpose is something static, buried inside you like a hidden treasure waiting to be unearthed. But life doesn't function like a Disney plotline. People are not born with color-coded destinies. You aren't a protagonist with a pre-written script. You are an author with a blank page, and that freedom is both exhilarating and terrifying. Think of the millions who never found their passion. The single mother who worked 3 jobs to raise her children. The quiet janitor who read philosophy during lunch breaks. The factory worker who built model trains on weekends. Did they live passionless lives? Or did they craft meaning through responsibility, discipline, and quiet perseverance? The world tells us they were settling, but maybe they were simply living. Arthur Schopenhauer, a man often accused of being bleak, spoke with brutal clarity. A man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. In other words, you can't summon passion on demand. It may arrive unexpectedly, or never come in the form you thought. Waiting for it, demanding it, can paralyze you into inaction, always searching, never building. What's worse, the passion narrative often ignores privilege. Only a select few have the luxury to chase abstract fulfillment. For the rest, survival takes precedence. This doesn't make their lives less meaningful. It makes them more human. There's something tragic in the modern fixation with finding yourself, as though you're a lost object in some spiritual thrift store. Maybe the self isn't found, it's forged. Maybe your path isn't waiting, but must be created. Passion, then, isn't a prerequisite for action. It is the residue of commitment, of showing up even when you don't feel on fire. Aldous Huxley once mused, "Experience is not what happens to a man. It is what a man does with what happens to him." So too with purpose, it is shaped by action, not discovered by dreaming. Stand in the cereal aisle of any supermarket, and you'll understand the existential crisis of modernity. 47 varieties of breakfast, each screaming for attention. What should be a simple choice becomes a micro-nightmare. Now zoom out: career, identity, meaning. The options are infinite, and in that infinity, many are drowning. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard called it the dizziness of freedom, a sensation of vertigo when faced with the boundless expanse of possibility. It's the same sensation that haunts so many when told to follow your passion. Because what if you pick the wrong one? What if you commit to a dream that turns out hollow? The idea that you must choose perfectly, that your life hinges on identifying the one thing you're supposed to do, is not inspiring, it's terrifying. Jean-Paul Sartre pushed this further. In a godless universe, he argued, we are condemned to be free. With no divine plan, no cosmic instruction manual, we bear full responsibility for shaping our essence. But modern culture romanticizes choice while hiding its consequences. In telling us that anything is possible, it also tells us that failure to achieve happiness is entirely our fault. You didn't pick the right passion. You didn't believe hard enough. You didn't optimize your potential. This is the shadow side of passion culture, an epidemic of quiet despair. Young people feel not just uncertain, but defective. If you haven't found your passion, what's wrong with you? If your job doesn't thrill you, are you wasting your life? The result is paralysis. People don't move forward because they're terrified of taking the wrong step. They wait for lightning to strike, for the aha moment to give them permission to begin. But here's the truth most aren't told: certainty is often the reward of action, not its precondition. You don't think your way into passion. You behave your way into clarity. Viktor Frankl suggested that meaning arises when we commit ourselves to something greater than ourselves: work, love, even suffering. He wrote, "Don't aim at success. The more you aim at it and make it a target, the more you are going to miss it. Success will ensue as the unintended side effect of one's dedication to a cause greater than oneself." So, perhaps the real tragedy isn't choosing the wrong path. It's never choosing it all, waiting for passion to arrive instead of forging meaning through courage and commitment. Imagine a concert pianist sitting alone at a grand piano after midnight. The hall is empty, his fingers trembling from hours of repetition. No applause. No spotlight. Just the stubborn refusal to stop. Is this passion, or is it something deeper? We often romanticize passion as a burning fire, intense, emotional, euphoric. But fire is fickle. It blazes, then dies. And if you rely on it to fuel your life's work, you may find yourself stranded the moment the heat fades. Passion may be a great spark, but it's a terrible engine. Arthur Schopenhauer, who believed that human desire is an endless cycle of longing and dissatisfaction, cautioned against overindulging in emotional whims. He wrote, "All striving springs from want or deficiency, from dissatisfaction with one's condition, and is therefore suffering so long as it is not satisfied." If passion is nothing more than craving, chasing pleasure, status, recognition, then it can never truly satisfy. It will always demand more. Discipline, on the other hand, is built not on emotion but on structure. It shows up on rainy mornings, in unpaid internships, in setbacks and rewrites. It doesn't care if you feel inspired. It asks only that you keep going. And paradoxically, this very monotony, the grind most try to avoid, often creates the deep sense of purpose we seek from passion. Carl Jung believed that the path to individuation, the full realization of the self, was not through chasing ideals, but by confronting the unconscious, integrating the shadow, and committing to the labor of becoming whole. Until you make the unconscious conscious, he said, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Many who think they're following their passion are, in fact, avoiding their deeper psychological work. They mistake emotional highs for destiny. True mastery is born not from feeling but from returning, over and over, to the work, to the practice, to the dull repetitions that refine character. As Aldous Huxley noted, there's only one corner of the universe you can be certain of improving, and that's your own self. Passion rarely tells you to practice scales at 3 a.m. Discipline does. In truth, the most meaningful lives are often not those who followed passion, but those who cultivated it, who sowed seeds through effort, tended to them through struggle, and harvested meaning over time. So ask yourself, do you want a spark? Or do you want a fire that lasts? A man stands at the edge of a battlefield, not of war, but of soul. Around him lie the wreckage of abandoned dreams, half-finished projects, and false starts. He holds no banner of passion, no guiding star in the sky, But he moves forward anyway, not because he feels certain, but because he has chosen to act. This, in its rawest form, is what it means to live meaningfully. In the end, follow your passion is a seductive half-truth. It flatters our ego while shielding us from responsibility. But meaning is not discovered, it is constructed. It emerges slowly, painfully, often in the shadows of failure and disappointment. Friedrich Nietzsche once proclaimed, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Passion may disappear in the face of suffering, but a why, a deeper sense of mission, endures." You don't need to be in love with your work every day. You don't need to feel electrified by purpose every morning. But you do need a reason to keep going. And often, that reason isn't thrilling, it's noble. It's a child you need to feed, a community you want to serve, a promise you made to your younger self. Passion is individualistic. It asks, what do I love? But meaning is relational. It asks, who do I serve? This is the spiritual shift that pulls us out of self-obsession and into a deeper kind of fulfillment. As Viktor Frankl observed, happiness cannot be pursued, it must ensue. It arises not from chasing desire, but from surrendering to purpose. And that purpose doesn't always arrive as an epiphany. Sometimes, it's the result of showing up every day for something that matters. Sometimes it's only visible in hindsight, after the dust settles and the path becomes clear. Sometimes it's not about what you love, but what you're willing to suffer for. So if you feel lost, unsure, unlit by fire, take heart. You are not broken. You are simply standing in the wide, open terrain of becoming. There is no map here, only the soil beneath your feet and the tools in your hands. Start building. Passion may join you along the way, but meaning, quiet, unshakable meaning, will be the true reward.